Okay, so it's still September 6th. I've just taken a look at the last video that I recorded and made a vain attempt to kill the fly that is buzzing around. And I want to spend just a couple minutes now talking about me. You know, what kind of a person reaches the point in their life that they think that they're ready for gender confirmation surgery and that that's the path ahead. So I don't really want to make the focus of these videos about me, of course. This is about the procedure and about leaving a trail for the folks that come along behind me. But I do think it's important to understand who I am and how I'm similar to you and how I'm different from you, and maybe that'll help inform your decisions. So just a very, very brief biography and then some talk about the actual transition that I've been through. I was born, of course, physically male. I got two X chromosomes and appeared to be male. And it's really kind of hard to sort of sort through my childhood and go, you know, how trans were you? How was, you know, that experience for you? Because I'm also an incest survivor, and I'm sorry for folks if that's a trigger. We're not going to talk about it here. It's a very long time in the past. He's suffering the miseries that somebody who does those things suffer, and that's, you know, that's punishment enough. I'm on my way and doing fine. But it really confuses things. I spent a lot of years going, did those experiences feminize me? Was I somehow unmasculinized? Is that why I have these feelings? And actually eventually decided that I didn't care because this is who I have to live with, and then later got confirmation, no. If you look at the rates of transgenderism among people who are incest survivors and among people who are not, there's no variation. That can certainly confuse things and complicate things, but good news for you survivors out there, that doesn't make you a girl. So let's just get that out of the way. What I can tell you about that time is that I found gender really confusing, and I can give you a couple of sort of landmarks from fairly early in my childhood where I just wasn't understanding what was going on. And the first one is I went to elementary school with a pair of twins, David and Katie. I think it was the seventh birthday. I can't be sworn to that. Of Katie and David, I got invited. I was a friend of David's, and I went to the party, and we all got together and we blew out candles and we had cake, and then all of the boys went into the living room and there were a set of activities to be done out there, and then all of the girls had the sort of playground fort thing. They had this fort thing with slides on it out in the back, and all of the girls went out there. Well, I went and hung around with the guys for a while, but you know, I don't know, it was kind of boring. I don't know what I was thinking, and I wandered off to the back to go play with the girls for a while, and they wouldn't let me in. You can't come in. You can't come in. Well, why can't I come in? Well, because you're a boy. What? So I went to their mom and I said they won't let me in. Or, you know, make them let me in. They won't let me in to play with the girls. And she said, well, of course not, honey. You're one of the boys. Go play with the boys. What the hell is going on here? Why am I somehow not able to play with those people because of some mysterious quality of girlness, right? And then the boy, what I just didn't get it. It didn't make any sense to me. There was another sort of a similar thing. I would occasionally be accused of being gay, even as a very young child. You know, we're still in elementary school here in the playground under the age of 10, because I went out in the playground, out in the grassy area, and played cowboys and Indians and all the sorts of things that we did with the boys. But then the next playground, I would be in the sandbox with, you know, little Susie, whoever, playing in the sand, and all the boys would come up, oh, are you gay? You're so gay. I didn't know what gay was. I didn't have any idea what this was all about. But I wasn't gender normative. I just kind of did my own stuff. And also, like a lot of people with gender dysphoria, it was extremely persistent. I used to have this fantasy, we're now in college, and it was this big elaborate fantasy where I would fall into a coma, and this miracle would occur and I would be transformed into a female, and I'd wake up and everybody would be talking about this miracle that had happened. And again, you know, I came from abuse, so I spent a lot of time going, are you just trying to get away from the abuse? What's really going on? In some ways, I led a very normal male life. I was married to my first wife for about 5 years. We were together for 10 years. I have a daughter who's 20, who's off at college and doing her own thing. I remarried a woman who passed away from cancer last year. It was very unfortunate. But I'm the single mom of a 4-year-old. And it was actually sort of the cancer that really brought transition to a head. My son was a baby. His mother was still breastfeeding, and she developed this lump. And well, you have a blocked milk duct or something. I don't know. You go see the OB. It'll be fine. And they decided to biopsy it, and it was cancer. It just really, I have a history of drug abuse. I do have a history of suicidal behavior. And I had built a sort of a sane life on top of all of this. But I really couldn't deal with a 1-year-old in the house and cancer at the same time. I wasn't capable of that. I got on the internet looking for a friend of mine. I ran a publishing company for a while, and I went looking for one of the artists in the publishing company who I hadn't heard from in a long time. And I found her, and I got on, and I was, hey, how are you doing? How's your life? So on and so forth. And she explained that she hadn't been around much because she was in the middle of her gender transition. Would I please refer to him as Mason? And gosh, this gong just started sounding in my head, that was in February, 3 years ago now. And this gong, wow, oh my gosh, I guess that's almost 4 years ago now, thinking about it. I had tried everything, I tried drugs, I tried relationships, I'd been through big bouts of depression, I'd been through thousands of hours of therapy, dealing with what had gone on in my childhood, and I do mean thousands of hours of therapy. And I still couldn't manage my life. I still couldn't do it. I couldn't be me. I still didn't like me. I still thought I was ugly, and male sexuality was gross, and yet I wanted to do it all the time. And my friend just said he'd escaped, and that was in February. And in June, I ordered hormones. I didn't have any answers. I didn't have any other possible explanation. And that started a long process that we'll talk about maybe a little bit more. Well, I think maybe we'll talk just about some of it here. The day of liberation, I can tell you, is not actually the day that I got hormones, or the day that I got into procedures, or any of the other things that have happened since then. The day of liberation was about 3 months after I started transition. I got a hold of a testosterone blocker for the first time. What happens, of course, when you start taking hormones, you start taking the female hormones, and you start getting round cheeks, and your breasts start to grow, and you start becoming randomly angry at times. At least if you're me, I get PMS, which is really kind of funny. Not when it's happening, but the whole idea that I would be having PMS, it just still cracks me up. And then there's a separate hormone blocker that you take that blocks testosterone. I got a hold of it about 4 months after I started transition, and started taking it like you're supposed to, morning and night, morning and night, morning and night. And I think it was the third morning after I started taking testosterone blockers, I woke up and I wasn't angry. And that may seem kind of a silly thing. Well, don't you wake up not angry every day? No, pretty much I'd woken up angry every morning for as long as I could remember. Not like specifically angry, like, I'm about to kick your ass, but just this anxiousness about life and this anxiety. My friend described me as having the ability to make a melodrama out of everything. Everything was so incredibly important. And I just kind of woke up just kind of calm, just not really stressed about stuff, just me. And that feeling has just deepened and grown really over the course of years. I am so enormously much calmer than I am now. And I tell people, if you tried to make me wear male clothes or go back down to my deep voice or things like that, I suppose I could do it. But if you told me that I had to get off of my testosterone blocker, I would fight you, because that's the moment that I became a sane person for the first time. And that's the real moment of liberation. And I really feel strongly that that's about the fact that I got the female organization of brain. I did not go through the testosterone surge in utero for whatever reason. And I just wasn't built for this level of testosterone. You know, I couldn't manage it. I was so anxious all the time. So then just to finish off just a little bit, just to give you enough about me. So we're 3 years ago there. I got into the care of a psychologist, Dr. Peg McCarthy at Shadow Woods Clinical Associates here in Topeka. She put me through the psychiatric battery that you have to take in order to be, you know, demonstrably female. Not that you need that validation for yourself, but if you're going to try to get surgery and you want your insurance to pay for it, you need to go through that psychological battery. And I think the standard for care for transgender people is called WPATH, I think. And just working with someone who understands that set of symptoms and has worked with transgender people before, even if you're not looking at surgery, I think is very, very healthy. After that, we started working on a name change. My name is legally Kate. I was born in Oregon, which means that I can have my birth certificate redone, and my birth certificate says Kate and is female. I actually haven't gotten my driver's license quite sorted out yet. It says Kate on it, but the state that I'm in balks at changing your gender marker until after surgery. So even though my birth certificate and the Social Security Administration and everybody else knows that I'm female, I'm having a little trouble with the driver's license, but doing very well. Out at work, I work as a systems analyst in a software design firm, which is not making me rich, but I can pay my bills, and that's awesome. And the insurance just happens to be one that covers gender confirmation surgery. I'm trying to think anything else. I'm a happy person now. Maybe we should mention that. It's just been this like slow roll. It's so weird that at the same time I went through a death in my household with the death of my wife, which was really traumatic, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. She was 42 years old when she passed, and that's just not okay. This discovery of Katie has been happening in parallel. You know, I've been moving away from that very unhappy person and was really able to be there for her as she got more and more ill, you know, because I had so much more emotional availability because I was finally the right person. All right, well, that was really pretty fast, but I think that brings us kind of up today enough. I live and work as Katie. I'm successful as Katie. I come from a really traumatic and unhappy background, but things are doing much better now. It was really interesting to see my psychological evaluation and all the issues that weren't on it anymore. I don't know. What else do you want to know? Ask me questions. I think that's enough just to get you introduced to me. When we come back to the next video, we'll be talking about steps in the process, the clinicians that I'm seeing, the doctors that I'm working with, and all of that kind of stuff. As I mentioned before, I do not monetize these videos. This is my trail that I'm leaving for people who come behind me. But I do have a Patreon link down below, and if it's valuable to you, you might consider stopping by and leaving me a little something. All right, guys, this is September the 6th, headed into gender confirmation surgery. I'm Katie. I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.